Hello everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of Las Colinas. Today we are going to start building the city's university. And starting out on that, I began with the football stadium. So instead of, building the actual college first, I went with the stadium because I had an idea to build the stadium into the mountain, which, as you can see here, I'm attempting to cover up the ugly cliff sides, and it was hard to actually put the stadium into the mountain because it has a fairly large footprint, the asset, and since the terrain obviously conforms to the asset, I wasn't able to do what I really wanted to do, which was have the land and the mountains go right up next to the stadium. So in order to make it look like that, I attempted to use these grass slopes because there was really no way that I tried, because it actually took me several attempts at probably three attempts at different strategies I took, but I ended up with this one, which it looks rough right now, which is that's for certain, but by the end of all the detailing it does look much better. But so I use these large rocks to cover up some of the still glitchy aspects of the terrain and the terrain slopes, because there was really no way to make the terrain run up right against the stadium as I wanted. So I just laid a bunch of rocks around, which it wasn't ideal. It wasn't really what I wanted to get out of it, but there was no way that I could figure to do exactly what I wanted with the game mechanics that we have. So I just optioned to go with this. But most of this episode is building the university, which I finally got the campus DLC, which was released however long ago. I know I mentioned in the last episode that I'm not the big DLC guy. I get them if I think it'll really provide a lot of unique aspects of the game or something that you're missing otherwise, but I figured now's the time I could probably afford to, no pun intended there, afford to buy the campus DLC, just because I wanted to get a nice university with some nice assets, with some heavier foot traffic around the university and around the stadium here, plus this stadium asset that's included in the DLC. I really love, hands down, probably the best stadium asset we got on the workshop, which this isn't even a workshop item, so that's impressive. I'm glad Paradox released a good asset compared to most of the stuff that they put out in their DLCs that are just I'm not quite sure what you're thinking there, but anyhow, I also switched flipped the stadium around so the entrance, or at least the intended entrance of the stadium, is actually hidden in the mountains, because of course I do add their parking lots, which never look right. So I just decided to flip the stadium around and hide it in the mountain, which I think actually looks better that way than if it were the other way around. I like the entrance with the scoreboard side and all, but anyway, so here I'm detailing the mountainside of the stadium. Just a small portion here. I think I'll add some nice houses on the other side of the grass there eventually, so I don't want to cover the entire area with grass, not to mention that would probably be quite bad for my FPS. Not to mention I had to actually use the ultimate level of detail mod to bump up the LOD distance for props, because the grass here it's a prop, it's not an actual tree, so it's terrain conforming. But I think I set it to originally 5,000 meters was the distance, which I think in-game is the default is 1,000, maybe less. I don't know, it's not very much, but basically when I zoomed out hardly any distance, the grass props would turn really ugly. I'm not sure who made the LOD on that or whatever, but it's not nice. So I was like, alright, I'll have to just bump up the LOD on the ultimate level of detail to the max that my computer can handle, which was 5,000, but then I actually ended up going down to 3,000 just because if I looked towards the city or ventured over that way with my camera, it slowed down to like less than a frame a second, so that was definitely not an option. So I just went with the 3,000 meters, but it definitely makes a significant difference. So I can zoom out a good ways and still be able to see the detail of the grass, so I like that. But so anyways, here I'm just detailing or not really detailing, but placing the parking lots this will be both for the stadium, of course, but also the students that go to the university. At least at my university, the parking lot for the football stadium is also used for student parking. I would park there, take my 10-15 minute walk to the heart of the campus to go to my classes. But yeah, so I'm making it quite large. But that's, again, not just for the stadium, but also for kids and students, maybe teachers, probably not though, but whoever needs to park and go to classes can do so there. Because I didn't add much parking on campus. I know most campuses don't really have parking actually in the campus, because it's just a waste of space. I do add, I think, a parking garage later on. But yeah, as far as parking, this is definitely going to be max. I'm not going to really add any more after this, although when, I guess later on in the video, as I work on the campus and the surrounding area, there's still a lot that I did not do in this episode with the campus, especially with student housing and just some commercial zoning around the campus. I didn't do any of that in this episode. This episode was already, I think, almost or about 30 minutes, and that's quite long. I don't really like that long of episodes. I prefer keeping it under 20, maybe a little over, but yeah, 30 is quite a lot. Not to mention, I know with the YouTube algorithms, they take into account the audience retention, so it's much harder to watch a 30-minute video than a 20-ish minute episode. So this is going to be one of the few instances in which the video is quite long, but yeah, so and much longer it would have been if I had actually did everything I wanted for the university. But I will probably make a part 2 following this episode, in which I finish up the area, at least add the student housing, some dorms, apartments, whatever, some commercial zones, just basically everything you would find around college town. Although I actually have another project in the making, or I guess I should say in the very early stage of development. I really only had the idea several days ago from this day of recording my audio, and it's not an American city, it's not modern day either. I don't want to give too much away, as you can guess in the comments, but I'm quite excited. It's something that I've never done before, and something that's I haven't really seen anyone do. Perhaps someone has, I just haven't really seen it. But as far as my knowledge goes, this is going to be the first attempt at recreating what I'm trying to do in this upcoming series. But yeah, that'll be coming, I don't know, 2 weeks, give or take, depending on the assets I find. Definitely more limited on that, since it's not set in the modern day. But yeah, look forward to that in, let's just say, 2 weeks. It's going to be pretty awesome if I do say so myself, but I'll let you all be the judge of that, of course. But yeah, so here I'm just going to finish up the stadium, adding some decals here just so it doesn't look super plain. I didn't go overboard with any props. I do add some people generators later on, which you'll probably see in the cinematic, the actual people showing up. But anyhow, now we actually start on the campus. As you can see there, I just named it UC Las Colinas. Wasn't really sure of what name to give it. I'm definitely not set on that, so please comment some creative names for the university named after, someone or made up city or state or person, whatever it may be. I'd like to use someone's idea, and whoever gets the most votes, I suppose, will have their name used as the university name. But so in creating this campus, I took several attempts before this recording that you're seeing. Originally, I used I believe it's the liberal arts campus, because that one had a fairly California western looking vibe to it. It had the reddish orange, maybe terracotta tile roofing. It just looked, compared to the actual large university assets in the campus DLC, that are definitely not meant for a West Coast city. I had no plans of using this, but it came down to either using the liberal arts one or this one, which is the trade school one. I liked it, and which I ended up going with this one because it had a bit of a more modern look to it, I thought. It has, I guess it's a universal design to it. It could be really anywhere across the US, which I liked because, again, this is, a Southern California city, so I figured that it was reasonable to have this type of architecture and style in a California city. But so when designing this, I originally wanted to take some ideas from my university, Arizona State. I didn't really end up doing that. The assets are, just hard to actually try and mimic a real university, so I basically just was like, heck with it, I'll just lay down a bunch of paths interconnecting some green space and see how many attempts it took, which it took about, this was actually my third layout that I made of the university. The first one with the liberal arts college, and then one before this one with the trade school buildings, and this one here that I ended up keeping. But I wanted a nice entrance to it, as you can see there, with that nice fountain. I love that animated fountain asset. I'm not sure if it's a real fountain in real life, but it's really nice, and I thought it made a good entrance to the university. And also with the main university building immediately after it, thought it was a good entrance, something nice, something appealing. But here I look around and basically figure I want to use some other buildings aside from just the university ones that are included in the DLC, because at least with the trade school assets, there's not that many. I think it's probably the smallest one of all or it's the smallest variety of all the college campus options in the DLC. So I decided to add a few other educational buildings that weren't necessarily college buildings but could easily pass as one. Because, I didn't really want to place like that cafeteria building, or I'm not sure what that one is to the left of it, but I ran out of buildings to use and decided to go with it. Took a peek at that, I guess a police academy. Quite large, and I figured that was just kind of odd to include in a university. Not that it necessarily had to function as a police academy. I could easily say it's something else, but I just didn't go with that. But here I had the one parking garage we have so far. Probably this would, for all the professors and administrative workers, so they don't have a bit of a shorter walk compared to the parking at the football stadium. But yeah, I haven't fully detailed the campus yet. Sometimes, depending on what I'm building, I have different just means of going about detailing. Usually, sometimes I work in small portions at a time. I'll lay a few buildings, detail them up, and then go to the next block, lay a few buildings, detail them up, and etc. But with this, I decided, since it's such a large project, or relatively large, I guess, university's significantly sized, but I just wanted to do the detailing at the very end, save it so I could, in case I wanted to add some smaller things in between buildings or whatever. I didn't want to just cover the place with trees and kind of run out of room, because I do expand outside of that small block area there for adding some university buildings. This is some, I think the law school, I believe, not with the DLC, but some workshop item, which is nice. I actually may have used this one in the downtown, I'm not sure, but I believe I did. But that's alright, it's far away. But yeah, so here I'm kind of struggling with thinking of what to add in all these small places, because I'm trying out assets, trying to just figure what works. Couldn't really find anything good, so in this, at least particular tiny square, I wanted to go with some sort of, what I imagine to be some sort of central electrical heating block, just for powers, or at least gives the air conditioning to most of the university. I know there's some sketchy building by the life science buildings in my campus, which is always humming, and it's really breezy around there. So I'm guessing that's some sort of AC, central heating, I'm not really sure, but that's what I kind of imagine with that. But anyhow, so here I want to place some sort of dorm or student apartments. I know there's quite a few on the workshop of some dorms, but I wanted to go with something like this that's long and narrow, and something I could kind of connect to one another and it'll look alright. Because these, I imagine, are just dorms, so crappy dorms, you have about as much space as probably your bathroom for your bed and everything else. But yeah, so this is going to be the main dorm for the students, I guess the freshmen and whoever else doesn't want to get an apartment near campus. But I really do like these assets. I like that I believe they're based on some European buildings. I'm not sure though, but I think they work well in really any setting. There's nothing that screams that it's exclusively a European asset or whatever it may be. But anyhow, so here I finally start to lay some trees, which make all the difference in the university. It's amazing just what laying some trees and some open space will really bring an area such as, as large as this one, bring it together, make it much more realistic. Here I make a little palm walk, a nod to my university. We have a long stretch of sidewalk that has a much longer than this, but big palms surrounding you. It's pretty nice, but yeah, most of this next minute or two is just laying a bunch of trees. Just the simple low tri trees, although I do add a few different ones after this. I usually lay all, if I'm planning on laying several variations of trees, I'll go lay all of one tree first, then move on to the next, versus just working on small areas and doing all the trees at once. Figure it's a little more, save some time, versus just working on the small areas at a time. But yeah, so here I'm going back and adding the breeze tree, something a little different, a little darker shade of green it looks, and because you want some color compared to just a bunch of green all over the place. But aside from all these trees, as far as detailing goes, I didn't really add anything else. I didn't really add any, I guess, benches, trash cans. I'm not really sure what else I would have done. But I wanted to keep it fairly simple. I didn't want to go insane detailing such a large area, because also considering it's such a large campus, I figured people are going to view it as one larger entity compared to on the individual level of each building, so I figured detailing excessively wasn't necessary compared to other projects that I've done, because I think I have a good grasp on what's worth detailing up a lot and what's worth slapping down some trees and not much else, because it's really impossible to build the size of a city that I hope to build in this for Las Colinas without watching your level of detailing throughout the city. I know Press made a video on detailing large cities, which basically entailed that you need to basically learn what's worth detailing, what's not. Honestly, I think $2.20 is the master at that. The Springwood series was absolutely incredible. I mean, such a massive city, yet detailed, I'd say perfectly. I know he had some FPS issues, but that's unavoidable with a city of that size. Because my worst nightmare is building, such as where I am now. A lot of work put into it, and the city's really getting large and expanding, and then all of a sudden, my game breaks, won't load. What happened to $2.20's Springwood, which was truly a travesty. Really sad. But anyways, yeah, so I guess I just laid a bunch of these trees still. I guess here's a graduation commencement area. Want to leave some open space there, not just covering in trees. But then adding the ore texture, which I'm not sure what ore texture that is from, what theme, but I love that so much because it adds just a perfect amount of wear to grass. Maybe some dead areas, maybe some dirt showing through the grass, because that's by far the best ore texture I've ever seen, which I use all over the place. But yeah, so anyway, here just add a few parking lots to the few parking lots that I actually have on campus. I guess this one's going to be the largest one there, but I didn't include the parking lot detailing of the stadium just because it was fairly repetitive, and I figured the small amount here would be enough for those of you that like parking lots. I like parking lots. I think they're cool. I know it seems everyone in the city Skyline community makes fun of them because, sure, they may be, some cities certainly just waste so much space with parking lots, and when there's so much better and you can use space when it's limited, but nothing's worse than going to an area and not being able to find a parking lot. I know Phoenix, where I live, is probably has underdone it with the available parking lots. So, I mean, I wanted to have enough parking, of course, to be realistic, but not too much to anger the anti-parking lot people. But anyway, so here I move on to probably my favorite part of the episode, which is a tram line under construction. This is something I wanted to do the instant pretty much I saw, I think it's Ronix's, right there's the sleepers and rail tracks, props, I believe they're his, but I saw those and just instantly I was like, alright, I'm going to make some sort of light rail expansion with these, have it under construction, and it turned out pretty much how I envisioned it. The sleepers there aren't the same size as the ones there from the actual light rail network, which is unfortunate. I think I actually end up covering the light rail network tracks with pavement, so there's no difference in the sleeper size there, so it ended up looking better. But yeah, I know Pingao did it with same type of thing, but with in a rail yard. Shout out to him, that awesome rail yard. That thing was massive, and yeah, you put in a serious amount of work in that, and yeah, good job on that. My rail yards that I made in the past I never come close to that. You did a great job on, making the textures on the ground have a lot of variations in the textures and colors and all that, which really made all the difference in the rail yard. But yeah, so I'm glad that I could see someone use these props here as the sleepers and rail tracks, put them to good use. So, but anyhow, the rest of the video is just me detailing the construction zone, messing around with Traffic Manager to make sure the cars aren't cutting through the construction and making, like right there, obviously that's a no-no. I fixed that, but making sure the turn lanes on the intersections weren't cutting into or getting too close to the construction props. And I placed down this cool animated excavator, which I honestly want to know how someone managed to get a excavator animated. I mean, I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to the modding, the actual process of it and everything. So, whoever made that is, very, very good work. But the one issue I did have it with it, I kind of messed around several times in this short portion, is trying to get it so it doesn't, or the excavator, so it doesn't, reach over into traffic, or just, because that has a fairly wide angle of, swinging back and forth from where it reaches down into, grab something from the dirt and then swings around to one side about 180 degrees and then opens up to, dump it into another pile or a truck or whatever it may be. So there was really no way I could prevent it from doing something like that right there, just because it swung around, I guess not quite 180, more like 60-ish degrees there, but still I wanted it to be much smaller, and I kept the animated one just because it was much cooler. But anyhow, that is it for the episode, and I hope you all enjoyed. Here are some cinematics, and I'll see you next time.